Duterte is at it again. This time, running his mouth. It seems to be one of his favorite things to do. This time, he has actually said that he's kind of like the Philippines version of Hitler. Wow. So I don't know what to say about this guy anymore, except for that it's hard to believe that he can just keep doing and saying all these things. So this was last Friday. He said he would be happy to exterminate 3 million drug users and peddlers in the country. Although the administration of Barack Obama played down the remark, Duterte's comments triggered shock and anger among the Jewish groups in the United States. According to Karen Lima and Manuel Magado, I think this is a Reuters story. Anyway, so the U.S. State Department spokesman Mark Toner on Friday said Duterte's comments in a rambling speech on his arrival in Davao City after his visit to Vietnam were a significant departure from America's partnership with the Philippines, and we're finding them troubling. Well, that's the most I've heard out of the U.S. so far. Duterte told reporters that he had been portrayed to be the cousin of Hitler by critics, noting that Hitler had murdered millions of Jews. Duterte said there are 3 million drug addicts in the Philippines. I'd be happy to slaughter them. And then he basically said if Germany had Hitler, then the Philippines would have, and then he pointed to himself. You know my victims. I would like them to be all criminals to finish the problem of my country and save the next generation from perdition. Now, perdition, of course, is a Christian thing that basically says a state of eternal punishment and damnation into which the sinful and unpenitent person passes after death, otherwise known as hell, damnation, eternal punishment, hellfire, doom. Anyway, the UN Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide, Adama Dang, expressed alarm at Duterte's comment and urged the Philippine leader to exercise restraint in his use of the language. Now that article cut out the rest of the sentence, but when I went to the UN's actual reporting site, they had the rest of that sentence. So let's read the whole sentence. UN Special Advisor on Prevention of Genocide, Adama Dang, expressed alarm at Duterte's comments and urged the Philippines leader to exercise restraint in his use of language that could exacerbate discrimination, hostility, and violence and encourage the commission of criminal acts which, if widespread or systematic, could amount to crimes against humanity. Why did the Reuters article take that last part of the sentence out? I don't know, but I'll tell you this, I think it's kind of an important part of the sentence, because before you take that out, or after you take it out and all you have is UN advisor express alarm and urge Duterte to basically use restraint in when he talks about what he's doing, it kind of sounds like, hey, don't tell everybody what you're doing, and I mean, you're cool, dude, just keep it on the DL. I don't know, maybe. Dang also called on Duterte to support the investigation, to support an investigation into the reported rise in killings resulting from the anti-drug campaign. Now the thing about that is there was Senate action, and the senator in charge of that got taken out of the chair position in the committee, so we don't know how that's going, but I doubt there's even going to be any investigations. There might not be any prosecutions for the extrajudicial murders that are happening on a daily basis. And furthermore, so on and so forth, who knows? Back to what they were saying, in August, Duterte threatened to withdraw the Philippines from the United Nations after it called for an end of the killings. In Washington, a State Department spokeswoman, Ann Ritchie Allen, had repeated concerns about reports of extrajudicial killings in the southeastern Asian country, but offered no response to Duterte's comment referring to Hitler. So Ann Ritchie Allen, that's a State Department spokeswoman. White House official on Friday stuck to the strategy of stressing Washington's long-standing ties with Manila. stating that we continue to focus on our broad relationship with the Philippines and we will work together in many areas of mutual interest. How relations between the U.S. and the Philippines evolve will depend more on what Duterte does than what he says, administration's officials have said. Well, what has he already done? He's only been around for, a couple months, and he's already got over 3,100 people that are dead because of this drug war. I'm not saying that he's the next Hitler or that this is going to rise to the occasion of being called a genocide per se. But I mean, already because it's drug addicts and pushers that are the target of these extrajudicial killings, most of the people in these world bodies like the UN, the US State Department, and other countries have weighed in on it and are basically kind of just saying, we'll see how this goes for a little longer. We're not really going to jump right in there and say anything or do anything or cut off funding or take new timetables on things that we already agreed with Manila on or nothing like that. In Hawaii on Friday, U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter met with the defense chiefs of Southeastern Asian countries, including the Philippines, and U.S. officials said that they would use the forum to clarify comments by Duterte that throw into doubt his commitment to military ties with the United States, including joint exercises and patrols, referring to when Duterte said that he calls off all joint exercises and patrols with the United States military for the 6 years that he will be president. Not sure if that was going to stay or if that was going to stand or not. So he was elected in May. He took office on June 30th. More than 3,100 people have been killed. He was elected in May on the back of a vow to end drugs and corruption in the country of 100 million people. He's insulted Obama by calling him the son of a whore and telling him that basically he can't criticize Duterte because Obama has his own extrajudicial killings to answer for. So on Friday he was reacting to comments on his war on drugs by U.S. Senator Patrick Leahy and Benjamin Cardin. Duterte said, "Do not pretend to be the moral conscience of the world. Do not be the policeman because you do not have the eligibility to do that in my country." So he's just basically telling the United States Senate to get out of his business. This is his country, not theirs. And he's basically brazen like this, and to anybody that has criticized him, like I did a report, he basically told the EU, fuck you, flipping them off while doing it. The EU really didn't respond with anything too intense. It's almost as if everybody's letting this thing go on like an experiment to see how would this work, or at least be able to document it to people. And that's sad because people are dying every day here. All right, Rabbi Abraham Cooper, head of the Simon Wiesenthal Center's Digital Terrorism and Hate Project, called them outrageous. The Hitler comments, by the way. So that was one Jewish group. Duterte owes the victims of the Holocaust an apology for his disgusting rhetoric, Cooper said. The Anti-Defamation League, an international Jewish group based in the United States, said Duterte's comments were shocking for their tone deafness. Here's the quote from Todd Gutnick, the group's director of communications. Now, I'm not sure if I like this quote. Let's take a look at this quote. "The comparison of drug users and dealers to Holocaust victims is inappropriate and deeply offensive. It is baffling why any leader would want to model himself after such a monster." Now, the first part of that, the comparison of drug users and dealers to Holocaust victims is inappropriate and deeply offensive. Is it fair for me to say that that statement is deeply offensive? Because you're likening Holocaust victims to either A, some group of people that are superior to everybody else and therefore comparing them to anybody else is offensive, or B, the only other option is that the people that you're talking about on the other side of the comparison are more worthless than dogs or something, or I don't even know what. Like, these people aren't worth saving, is that what I guess where I'm going with this? The comparison of drug users and dealers to Holocaust victims is inappropriate. It is, I agree there. It's inappropriate to say that, to bring the Holocaust victims up anywhere, anytime, for any reason, unless you're talking about the Holocaust. You have to tell somebody that there were 6 million, not 3 million, Duterte said. 6 million Jews that were exterminated by Adolf Hitler, and it was, let's get that right, an attempted genocide. Now, what do you really have to qualify for a genocide? Well, I think the two main things that you have to talk about is, one, having a specific group that you're targeting, and then two, you're targeting that group because you're trying to wipe them off the face of the earth. That's pretty much what a genocide is. And to say that what Duterte is doing is not a genocide is acting like that the first one don't matter, that you're actually targeting a specific group. Well, he's targeting a specific group, drug users and dealers. Now, he calls them criminals. He always talks about them in the context of the fact that they're criminals. Well, that's because of the prohibition. That's why they're criminals. Is coffee, people that drink coffee, are they criminals? No, because that drug is legal. So these people that are addicts are only targeted because they're addicts and dealers. That is, by definition, a targeted group. And to take away from a group that's getting targeted their right to even be humanized because they're so-called criminals or whatever is automatically not American. And if you're a religious leader or a religious person, it seems like you would want to go with the more righteous approach to this and say that any victims are bad. And comparisons with victims of this and victims of that is never good, unless you wanted to say, okay, for example, Christians were targeted a lot less in World War II than Jews or something like that. Make comparisons, real comparisons. Duterte never compared his situation with Holocaust victims, other than to say that falsely that there were 3 million Holocaust victims and that there would be 3 million victims in his war. He didn't make any other comparison. He didn't say any reason why people are targeted other than he's targeting people because they're criminals and he's trying to clean up his country so that people don't go to hell. I don't even know if this guy's actually religious. For a religious guy, though, if he was, he sure swears a lot. Anyway, he goes on to say that no, that's it. That's it for that guy. So Duterte has said that there will be no annual war games between the Philippines and the United States until the end of his 6-year term, and his hostility may make Washington's strategy of rebalancing its military focus towards Asia in the face of an increasingly assertive China and more difficult to achieve. So that might explain why we're trying to ramp up our relations positively with Vietnam and other countries that we never cared about before. Southeast Asia is one of the strategic points of interest for us because China. You know, that's all you need to know. Okay. And we need this relationship so bad with the Philippines that Obama or nobody in the American government is really out there saying a whole lot about what's going on. And neither is the news, by the way. Murray Hibert, a Southeast Asia expert at the Center for Strategic and International Studies think tank in Washington, said Obama was taking the long view on dealing with Duterte. Now, he leaves office in January, so what's the point of taking a long view? Oh, because the overall people that really run the U.S. government need you to take the long view for them because they're going to have to deal with them after you're gone. You're not allowed to have any balls in this situation. You're almost... Lame duck session is coming real quick. Keep your eyes on the ball. Keep your eyes on Washington, because if you were one of those persons that thought Barry Obama, Baraki, the guy that was from the Choon Gang, and he's going to legalize marijuana on his way out of office, I think he's going to do stuff in the lame duck session and let stuff get done that might surprise you and might not be what you think it is. And I doubt very seriously he's going to make a move to legalize marijuana. It would be great, but I'm not seeing it. I'd tell you why, but it'd be a whole other video. Corrupt government, it's not working. So Malcolm Cook, a senior fellow at Singapore's ICAS Yusof Ishak Institute, said the U.S.-Philippines alliance was not necessarily at risk, but Washington could seek to focus on ties elsewhere in the region, which I already mentioned. We are all in some sense becoming, by necessity, desensitized to Duterte's language. Why and how? Because Trump is worse? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe Duterte's been lightening it up a little bit, but I think you can't be desensitized to it. Anyway, he goes on to say, diplomatically, the U.S. would say they'll continue to work with him, and the alliance is strong, but it's whether they'll continue to strengthen that alliance or not. And furthermore, the U.S. has already came out and said that their relations are still nice and solid on the military front, whatever that means. Even though Duterte said that thing about the military exercises, I guess we have solid relations with Duterte. So there's the latest on Duterte. Seems like I wish I could quit doing stories about this guy, but every other day something new pops up, and he's either running his mouth or you're getting new statistics or specific stories about someone getting murdered in this drug war. And I just want to emphasize one more time, thank you for watching these videos. Subscribe, tell your friends that might be interested. Share them on your Facebook feeds if you see a good one. But bottom line is nobody's really talking about this much. And you see why. The State Department's combing through this thing and trying to duck and dodge and be as diplomatic still to Duterte as possible, even though he's not having any of it. He's like, be as nice to me as you want. I don't give a shit. You guys can fuck off. That's what he just said. He said it to Senator Leahy, and he said it to the whole EU. He said it to the United Nations. He told that to Obama. He is basically on an island, literally and figuratively on an island. And you know, I don't know who does support his drug war. He can probably find some people that are twisted and sick around the region and other parts of the world that are all for it. I mean, I don't see what would be hard about that, but he's like the one, he's toxic. No one wants to touch him. No one wants to actually say that they're doing good things with him and he's doing good things. They just want to say that, they're basically like, we'll see how this is turning out and see how people feel. But I think they really care more about that. How do people feel about this? It's not what he says or what he does. It's how do people react? Is everybody being desensitized to not only his shit talk, but also his actual violence? We will never know. All right, that's all I have on that one.